من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأنجبين بهم نتولى ومن أعدائهم نتبرأ إلى الله. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تقبل الله أعمالكم. This blessed month of Ramadan, may Allah accept all the observances, the services and the servitude بقبول Hasan, and give us further opportunities, more opportunities, and the blessing of life so that we can benefit many more years to come, inshallah. Now, the topic that we have for tonight, it is to know a little bit about Suratul Ikhlas, Surat Tawhid, Surat Ahad. All these are the different names that it has. It is Surah number 112 of the Holy Quran. It has 4 ayat and it talks about the oneness of the existence of God, about Tawheed. Starts with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, like every other surah which has commenced in the name of Allah, the Rahman and the Rahim. This surah too is like all other surahs, starts with the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Now, although we do translate Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim the same as the same in all of these 114 times that it has been revealed in the glorious Quran, but in reality, as our Ustad Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli says, that every Bismillah has the essence of that surah. So over here, the Bismillah of Surah Tawheed has the essence of Tawheed and the oneness of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Likewise, the Bismillah in every other surah has come with that surah and also has the essence and the fragrance of that surah. And that is why we see that some of the mujtahideen, some of the ulama, they are of the opinion that any surah you recite in your prayers, you have to decide which surah you want to recite first, then say the Bismillah followed by the surah. Not that you say the Alhamdulillah, you end the surah and then you say a random Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and then you decide that I want to recite Suratul Qadr, for example. So some of the ulama, they are of the opinion that because Bismillah of every surah belongs to that surah, so in prayers also you have to decide first which surah you intend to recite and then you recite that surah. Now this surah was revealed in Mecca and it has 4 ayat and starts with a Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and the first ayah says Qul huwa Allahu ahad, which means say He, Allah, is one. Allahu Samad, Allah, He is eternal. Now we'll keep the meaning of Samad simple here to eternal. And Lam Yalid wa Lam Yulad, He begets not and is not begotten. Wa Lam Yakun Lahu Kufuwan Ahad, and there is none like Wa Lam Yakun Lahu Kufuwan Ahad, like unto Him. No one is like Him. Now the Tafseer of this surah, it so happens that the pagans or the idol worshippers in Mecca, they used to come, and many people from many tribes, they used to come to the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they used to say that we can point at our idols, our gods, and we can see them, we can point at them, and we can identify them to you. What about your God? You claim to be the Prophet, so you have to identify your God to us as well, just like we. we can identify and then point at these gods that are laid here in the Kaaba. There Rasulullah comes and says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Qul Huwallahu Ahad. They said that we can point at these idols, we can see our gods. And then Rasulullah comes and says, Qul Huwallahu Ahad. So the instructions by Allah to the Prophet were that, say, O Prophet, that He, Allah, is one. Now they say we want to see, we want to point at the God, but then He comes out here, Rasulullah says He, that is a third person, He the Almighty, He is one. Now huwa in Arabic, it's a pronoun which is used for the third person singular and refers to something known to all and known to all but ambiguous and not identified with any, as against the usual reference to the term that is used here, person as I. It is indeed a code referring to the fact that His existence, that is the existence of Allah Ta'ala, is extremely concealed, and no human thought or imagination can touch it, can see it, can point at it. And if you get time, look into the first khutbah of Nahj al-Balagha, where Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wassalam beautifully visualizes or explains the existence of God, the Almighty, the Glorious. Now, when you look into the ayat of Quran, here it said, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, say He, Allah is one. Then the Quran says that when you look into the entire creation and wherever your sight goes, whatever you can perceive, whatever you can see, in every existence, in every creation, in every being, you would see the existence of God. Quran says, سَنُرِيهِمْ آيَاتِنَا فِي الْآفَاقِ وَفِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ أَنَّهُ الْحَقِّ أَوَلَمْ يَكْفِي بِرَبِّكَ أَنَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ شَهِيدٌ. Soon we shall show them our signs in the horizons and in their own soul, until it becomes clear to them that He is Haqq, He is real, He is the only and He is the real. And is it not sufficient that your Lord is a witness to all things? So when you look into the entire creation, to everything, you see that it has been created by a creator, and that creator is God. And everything is so clear, it is evident that there is a benefactor, there is a creator behind every being, and that is Allah, that is the existence of God, Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Now, in the Battle of Badr, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salatu wassalam, he says that I saw Prophet Khizr in a vision, and I said to Prophet Khizr that we have a war to fight, a battle to fight. In the morning, can you give us some kind of a dua, or can you teach us something that would help us win this battle? Prophet Khizr says, yes, say this a lot, keep repeating it a lot. Ya huwa ya man la huwa illahu, which means Ya huwa, O He, Ya man la huwa illahu, O He who never, there is no one for Him but He Himself. He comes in the morning and says that to Rasulullah, that this is what I saw, Prophet Khizr. I asked him and he taught me this. And then Rasulullah says that this is one of those greatest of the names of Allah Ta'ala, and it is one of those elements and columns and pillars of Tawhid. Now in the battle, Ammar Yasir, he sees that Amir al-Mu'mineen is constantly uttering something. He says, Ya Ali, what are you reciting? This took place in the Battle of Badr, and then they won. In the Battle of Siffin also, Amir al-Mu'mineen was constantly repeating something. Ammar Yasiri inquires, and then Amir al-Mu'mineen says that this is what I was repeating, Ya huwa, Ya man la huwa illahu, which is among the greatest of the names of Allah and among the pillars and the columns of Tawhid and monotheism. So that is regarding قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Ahad means one, means unique. Now here, riwayat, some of them say that Ahad and Wahid, both of them, they mean the same. But if you analyze the two words and say, look at them, Wahid means one, but it could be a compound. Ahad is one without any composition to it. It is one on its own. So when we say قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, that He, God, is one, that is, He is one means only one, not made up of something and then called one. Like, for example, you could say a cup of tea, and that cup of tea has sugar and milk and tea and all these things together, they would make one cup of tea, but still you would say it's one. Ahad, it means ahad, not a compound. It is every individual component or ingredient of that tea on its own is ahad. Collectively, they will be called wahid. When we say قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, say He, God, is one. That is unique, not made up of with other beings. And then no, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, He is all one. Now Allahu Samad. Allahu Samad means Allah who is eternal. Now there are many meanings here for Samad in the Islamic narrations and ahadith in Tafseer. There says that one of the meanings is that eternal, meaning that eternity in both ways. We've got an eternity which is from ever, it has originated at a point, and then forever, which is again it is towards the future. So one origin is towards the past, and the second one is towards the future. So when we say that Allahu Samad means He who is from ever. So if you look into the past, it is from ever, and when you see towards the future, says forever. So that eternity towards both, that is towards the past and the future, both of them, they are embedded in this Samad, that is He who has been there from ever and He who will remain forever, Allahu Samad. Now someone who has been from ever and who will remain forever means that he doesn't depend on anyone. He who is eternal doesn't depend on anyone in whatever way, in whatever manner. And when we look into the riwayat again in the Tafseer, Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam says that Samad means a Lord whose lordship has attained its utmost point or degree, or Samad is an essence and being that continues or continues forever or is everlasting. So from ever and forever. So Samad is the existence that has not a hollow inside. Samad is one who takes no nourishment, food, nor drink, so doesn't depend on anyone, no dependency whatsoever. In his existence, he is eternal, he doesn't depend on anyone. And then Samad is one who does not sleep. That is again among the definitions that we have. And if you look into the Ayatul Kursi, which is the pivot or one of the main ayats that we have, the loftiest ayats of the glorious Quran, there it says Allahu la ilaha illa huwal hayyul qayyum la ta'khudhuhu sinatun wa la nawm. Allah, He is who is He? Mentions all the attributes and says La ta'khudhuhu sinatun wa la nawm. He doesn't sleep, doesn't yawn, doesn't slumber. That is the existence of God. So when I say Qul huwa Allahu ahad, say He, Allah, is one. Allahu Samad, He, Allah, is eternal. He is from ever, He is forever, doesn't depend on anyone. Allahu Samad. That is the meaning of Samad that was mentioned here. Now, Lam Yalid wa Lam Yulad. Lam Yalid means He begets not, no one is born from Him. nor is he begotten, that is, nor is he born from someone. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. So when we bring the dependency factor over here and say that he hasn't been born from anyone, nor has anyone been born from him, means that he doesn't depend on anyone. So any being that depends upon another cannot be God. So we have a wujud of an existence which is mandatory to be present. We have the existence of a being that is mumkin and possible to come into existence. And there is a being which is impossible to come into existence. A being that is mandatory and he must exist is the existence of God. A being that is possible to exist, and like me, my existing and my non-existing, they are equal. Even if I exist, doesn't matter. If I don't exist also, nothing would happen. So everything which is a creation of God is mumkinul wujud, and anything which is impossible to come into existence is called a being that cannot come into existence, or mumtani'ul wujud, the term used in philosophy and in logic. Like, for example, a partner and a sharik of the existence of God, that cannot happen, that cannot come into existence. It is impossible, so he doesn't. So the existence of God is mandatory. He has to be in the existence. Every creation or every being that you see has been brought into existence by the existence of God. So Allahu Samad, lam yalid walam yulad walam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad, and he is all alone, he is the only one. Now therefore he is one in essence, in attributes, in his action, in his deeds, unique, and there is no one like the existence of God. Now when you look into the Ayatul Kursi, how beautifully that explains Allahu la ilaha illa huwal hayyul qayyum. He is that Allah who is Hayy, living, al-Qayyum. Now Qayyum means a being. Every other living has a qiyam, has a rising, has a standing. But this rising, even if I have a stand, even if I do rise, it is not my own. It has been given to me the ability, as a result of which I can rise, I can stand. But the existence of God is Qayyum, that is the standing and the rising of every being apart from God is from Him. So we say Qayyum. So look at how beautiful the Ayatul Kursi explains and identifies the existence of God to us. And the same thing is with Surat al-Ikhlas. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. So he is the only one. Now with reference to the barakat and the recitation of this surah, we see that there are so many riwayat that talk about the emphasis of reciting this beautiful surah. And among the ashab of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is Ma'az bin Jabal. He is among those who when he was martyred, Rasulullah, he comes and he lays him to rest. And was the prayers were offered by the Prophet upon the pure body of this shaheed, and he came and he kissed the forehead and he put him to rest in his grave. So all that honor that was seen by the Prophet and all those angels also that participated in the janaza, in the funeral of this shaheed, thousands in number. And then the companions, they said that, Ya Rasulullah, we never see you walk so in this way that we saw you move today in this funeral. There Rasulullah says, because of the thousands of angels who had participated in the funeral of this companion, I couldn't stick to the ground. I had to keep moving here and there. I couldn't rest on my feet. There they inquire what was the reason for all this beauty that was seen in the funeral of this Sahabi. There the Prophet, he reveals that he used to recite Surat al-Ikhlas a lot. how many thousand times every day we don't know, but he is among those people who used to recite Surah Al-Ikhlas a lot, as a result of which all that honor and all that adama, all that greatness was given to this companion of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Reciting Surah Al-Ikhlas, Hadith says that you recite, the reward that you get for reciting 3 times Surah Al-Ikhlas is equal to the recitation of the entire book of Allah, that is the entire Quran. Whosoever recites 3 times Surah Al-Ikhlas. And we have various riwayat which do talk about the importance of reciting this surah in your prayers, and for if you want to gift it to someone who has passed away, to the marhumin, the best of these surahs that can be recited, it's Surah Al-Ikhlas, and it is a surah which strengthens and polishes and enlightens the faith that we have in the oneness and the existence of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul huwa Allahu ahad. Say that He, Allah, is one. Allahu Samad, and He is eternal. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. He begets not, nor is He begotten. Wa lam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad. And He is the only one, and there is no one like Him. That is the beautiful explanation of this surah that we have as defined by the existence of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. If you have any questions, I can answer them.